Last night's game was a big one. The Demons got over the Saints. Injury concerns for the Saints, but Melbourne so good behind the football, Lordo.
They were. Fantastic game of football where two teams were fighting for the fourth spot on the ladder, and Melbourne get it. Christian Petrarca kicked the first goal of the game, kicked 4 for the match. Melsham was important late with a couple of goals. Sparrow 2 through the midfield. May was everywhere. Viney and Brayshaw racks up 25 as well. Gresham had his best game for the season. Owens maybe a smoky for the... Neil Bullen kicks the first goal, but Angus, it was a big game. It was tight, it was contested, but I know Simon Goodwin said no one works harder on their goal kicking than us, and we're doing a lot of work, and that's probably the difference last night.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the only stat that really matters at the end of the day, isn't it? You can win all the contested ball, the defensive statistics, which we did against GWS, and if you're not kicking scores, then you're not going to win. We were the best set shot team, goal kicking team for the first 6 or 7 rounds, so yeah, Goody's right. We've been putting a heap of work into it, and there'll be ups. We kicked, I think, 5 or 6 straight to start the game, so it's not always going to be like that. It's not, on the other side of that coin, it's not always going to be as bad as what it has been the last few weeks. So it was really good to see reward for effort. And with Petrarca starting forward, he may have played sort of 75-80% forward. The responsibility that you now rely on players like yourself, and Viney's been doing it for a long time, but I thought Jordan was really good and was able to stand up inside. Absolutely, we've got a really strong VFL program, the reigning premiers, and they're, playing really well this year. So you see blokes like Jordan who can step up into, what we need was a really important role for us. He's been doing it all year. He had 41 touches and a couple of goals the other week. So it's not just those guys. There's people that are behind the scenes that you don't see, and I think that's what really drives a strong program is all 45 players. So
how early in the week is it sold to the players that, okay, we need to make some changes? Christian will go forward. You started in the centre bounce last night. How early do you get given that information about how things are going to look different?
Not particularly early. We sort of we'll review a game, and then they'll have a match committee and they'll have strategy meetings, and it's probably about midway through the week that you sort of get your head around it. So as I've said before, though, we've got a really selfless group, and all those things. I think that in my time that is the mark of our group at the moment, is how selfless we are. So, you could have been telling Christian he's playing back pocket, and I guarantee he's buying into the team concept. That's not a recommendation, Goody, by the way. So, but yeah, it's a really selfless group. I think he might be there for a while now. Stephen May, we've already highlighted his 8 intercept marks, but he did have Max King, and this was just straight after the injury, and it did free him up. But what I've admired about him is his ability to put his hand up and play on the opposition's best forward if he needs to, but then come off and do this. It's a skill that not many in the game have, Angus. No, he's a superstar. I think we're so much better for having him up and going, and as you can see here, when he's playing like that, when he's aggressive, he's actually beating forwards on leads, which is really reading it well. I think the thing that needs to be said though for our defensive group, it's more than just that one player. So a lot of those clips you see, blokes like Harry Petty, Jake Lever, who are really playing selfless roles, so that Maisie can flourish, and there'll be times where they'll play a forward on Maisie, or he'll have often the best forward, and he's playing a selfless role to shut them down. And Jake Lever will pop up and take 8 intercept marks, or Harry Petty will have a big game. So, and having played there myself in the back line, it's again a really team-first, selfless group, and they don't really care about who's taking the marks. It's just about keeping teams to the lowest scores. I have to take your hat off to the Saints, though. They were brilliant last night. Their pressure around the football was great. They lost 3 injuries early, and Rowan Marshall had to come up against Gawn and Grundy, obviously, as a sole ruckman. 29 disposals he had last night. He had 8 clearances himself. Every time that Melbourne tried to push the ball forward, he went back with the flight. I thought he was just about close to the best man on the ground. If the Saints had got up, Christian Petrarca, I think, was the best in the end, but this guy was just enormous.
Where does he sit? It's hard for you, Kane, being an All-Australian selector, but he'd be in the best 3 or 4, wouldn't he? Absolutely. I think there's an opportunity for one of these ruckmen to really put their hand up in the last
There's still 7 games left.
I even like Oscar McInerney, what he's doing for Brisbane, and Tim English has had a pretty solid year, but Gawn's got 6 of them. He's had a monopoly on the All-Australian jumper. I'm not sure he's going to get there this year. How have you seen the Gawn and Grundy combination? Still a work in progress?
Yeah, I absolutely think it is. I think you've seen glimpses of what it can be, and I think that the key there, I'm sounding like a broken record, but they're really investing in the forward element of it. So they're obviously 2 of the best ruckmen in the last 10 years, and you'd be, it'd be fair enough if one of them was, getting a little bit salty for not spending as much time in there. But the way that I've seen them invest into their forward craft has been incredible, and when they're bobbing up and kicking 2 or 3 goals each. and rucking. We really don't have a second ruckman. They're two of the best in the game. I think that's a real strength of ours, and we knew that would be the case. It wasn't just going to click straight away. So, as you've said, there's 7 more games, and they'll be really, and they do it every week. I see it on the training track. The work they put into their connection is pretty special.
Port Adelaide's Sam Powell-Pepper absolutely nailed a torp last night for a goal. Angus, take us through what happened here with your good self. Siren's gone. You're a long way out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think what's important here for context is that I've got a pre-game torpedo group. Jim Jordan, Tom Sparrow and I are all involved. And that's gone 80 metres.
Still not a bad hit, though.
That's gone 75 of the 80 metres. And I've been, as you all would have seen, in the back line for the better part of a year and a half. So the opportunities like that come rarely. I hit it well. I got no regrets.
Good.
No.
The boys had a bit of a laugh at it.
Well, they were encouraging me. The Torpedo brothers and were looking at me like, give me the thumbs up. And if you watch the pre-game warm-up, then we're setting fire to some big barrels. So,
you had to back a player from your team to make it from there. Who would it be?
Jim Jordan. He's the skipper of our Torpedo gang, and he kicks some 80-odd metres pretty comfortably. There's more convenient options. You might think Trent Rivers or Stephen May, but Jim Jordan, no one kicks him quite like Jim.
If Malcolm Blights went 80, that's gone 45. I reckon my votes last night, Christian Petrarca, as you touched on, Nate, he's the best man on the ground. Stephen May, Rowan Marshall, and I thought Gresham's gained 8 score involvements, 24 disposals, kicked a couple himself. He was influential as well.
Nicely done, Lordo. The best prize pack in the business we have for a lucky winner today. The JLab headphones will start there, Brownie. These are amazing. They pack over 70 hours of play time. Thanks to JLab, your kind of tech. There's the Odyssey White Hot Versa putter, valued at $450. Thanks to Odyssey, if you don't mind. Your golf apparel is sorted with Clutch & Co. head-to-toe package, the perfect blend of style and comfort. Clutch performances incoming the next time you're on the course, as they will be with the Callaway Tour cap and the Travis Matthews hats as well. 4 of those to keep the whole playing group happy. The OGO bag, $150 voucher for a bag of your choice from OGO. Check out the range, auogo.com. Bar fridges, these are great supporters of ours. Keep your drinks cool with a fridge with your name on it. The Aquila shoes, premium quality footwear since 1958. The Fizz Functional, we'll get to that because there's no calories in this, barely a calorie in sight. Glow is relaxation in a can demo. Head to getfizzy.com. The Ricks Eyewear that inspires confidence, rickseyewear.com.au. And lastly, our friends at Platform 28 will sort you out our favourite pub right
Auto.
Auto.
Yeah, nice work. Nice work. All that coming your way. You're 4th at the moment. You beat Collingwood a couple of weeks ago. Do you have any fears if you had to play them round 1 of the finals?
Absolutely not. I think what I'm happy with in terms of where we sit now is that we've actually had some bad losses, which might sound weird, but I think it keeps our group on edge and we're looking to improve every week. We're not getting comfortable. So, we've had some really tight games. Collingwood we got on the right end of. We lost to Geelong. We lost to, obviously, GWS last week. We've won another tight one. It feels like they're the sort of finals games that you get. So, I think it's great practice. And the fact that we've actually lost a couple has kept us sharp. I think week to week we're always looking to improve, which is a good mindset to have. Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. Port Adelaide are flying at the moment, as we know, 13 in a row. Their second spot. They look like they're wrapping up that spot for a home final at the moment. They put the foot down in the third term.
Yes, the Warren Treadrow reverse curse lives on. Port Adelaide 13 in a row.
What did he say?
They said it was untenable after round 3. Went a bit early.
He wanted the coach gone after round 3.
And since then, they've won 13 in a row.
To get himself back in the media.
What's he been saying in Adelaide?
Not much. But they started a bit flat, and Gold Coast had their opportunities. They had a slender lead at half-time. You thought, well, there's the response that we thought they might provide. Took Miller, came back into the side, kicked a big goal, and that was a moment for them when they all got around him. Port Adelaide just hung in there, and it was largely a lot due to that man, Connor Rosie, who has become a real goal kicker. He's kicked 5 goals in his last 2 weeks, and they did, when they go inside forward 50, Lordo, they did have some efficiency there. Rioli back into the side after missing a couple of games. Finlayson kicked 3-4. Narkle was a sub who came on early for Mackenzie, kicked that long goal there. So he's been an important pickup for them. But really, it was all about the third quarter where they kicked 9 goals. They had 55 more disposals, 8 more clearances, 12 more inside 50s. And they kicked 10-5 for the game off the Suns' turnovers, and that's to your point about their pressure and how good it was.
Yeah, that's a disappointing part for the Suns. They were so good in that first half. It's just about the toughest place to go and win, Port Adelaide in Adelaide. And and they just couldn't. They just dropped away too badly. And when you're having a bad quarter, you've got to try and concede, 3-4, stop the momentum, do it in ways. But they've conceded too many goals, Angus, in that third quarter.
Yeah, well, the crowd there, watching, it's an incredible place to play footy, and it really is a huge advantage for the Port boys. And when they get on a roll, the crowd get involved, and you're right, it's hard to stem momentum. So, tough place to play footy.
There's a lot of intercept defenders who are flying at the moment, and Alira is one of them, but they still concede goals. So it's about weighing up what they're giving you versus how many goals they're conceding. And he's won Alira. He had a good game last night, but he still was beaten. So he's destroyed King there in a couple of occasions. He outmarks King again, but once King went off, Levi Casbolt actually has kicked 4 goals in the end, and some of them were opposed to Alira.
That's right. He had 4 goals, Casbolt kicked, but 6 intercept marks, and what a pickup he's been. So how important has Alira been, and also Finlayson?
Yeah, just back on the backline part of it though, we discussed obviously before that Trent McKenzie is likely to miss next week at least. Jonas comes back in. Is this the hole they've got that makes you worried about whether...
So it was the ruck for me and their key defenders. I mean, that's why they tried to get Radaglia so aggressively in the off-season to strengthen that up. Now, they'll do that and get someone in the off-season. They'll get a ruckman and a key defender, but it's not going to help you now when you're trying to win a premiership
at stake.
Exactly right. So, I mean, all teams deal with injuries, but they're just a couple of injuries that they probably couldn't afford. Finlayson? No?
Well, the recruiting has been good, as you said, Kane. And Jeremy Finlayson, probably career best form at the moment. His season when the Giants made the grand final was very good. I think he kicked over 47 goals. But the way he presents, the energy he brings, he is an instigator. He gets them going. And he's just got that way about him that it gets in the face of the opposition. And his work rate, I haven't seen him work as hard as what he is this year. He gets all the way up and then he blasts them on the way back and he gets goal side of them.
Been really important, plays in the ruck as well. He was in the votes. Connor Rosie was the best player on the ground. I thought Ollie Wines was really strong, and Alira I did give some recognition to for his work behind the ball.
Oh, the Giants are coming. They're looking at the 8 at the moment. They're just outside the 8. They beat the Hawks. It was a battle, a 13-point win in the end, and the Hawks missed some easy goals in that last quarter. But the Giants, you have to respect what they're doing.
You do, and this was a good response from Hawthorn. So it was a tight game early. You see the Giants jumped out of the blocks with the first couple of goals, but Hawthorn responded. It was really good, actually, the way they played the footy. Look forward to getting to Sam Taylor soon, but Steve Canelio set them alight nice and early with what he was doing forward of the ball. Jesse Hogan, he's been another good pickup for him, hasn't he? Kicking 4 goals.
Good effort without Toby Green having a dominant game. Josh Kelly only the 6 disposals, so the signs are good.
So Kane touched on it in the opener. Will Day missed 2 shots within the space of probably 20 seconds, and then they went back down the other end, the Giants, and kicked the goal through Jesse Hogan. And they were coming here. Connor McDonald kicks this goal, gets them to 8 points. And you thought they're coming, but they just missed the goal. And this was the one, straight off the back of the 2 misses, Browning. So there wasn't a lot in this game of football between the 2 sides. But let's talk about Sam Taylor. He's done some bad hamstrings in his time, but he was just like the roadblock that they just couldn't get past and just dominated. He's a class act, this guy.
Yeah, he was enormous. He took 5 intercepts, and what he does, I mean, he had Mitch Lewis covered, but also not dissimilar to what we've spoken about with Stephen May. He goes and plays on the opposition's best key forward, but then also disrupts by doing this. And Lewis had no answers for him. It was the quietest game he's had all year, Mitch Lewis. So yeah, I think they've got a really nice foundation of senior players who've still got 2 or 3 more years left in them, and then youngsters like Green and Taylor and Callaghan and others. So they're in a really good position. They've got an elite draft hand again.
Can they make the finals?
Year. I think they can make it. I don't suspect they will. I think that spot will be taken by Essendon or Richmond or Adelaide with the draw that they've got, but they're in a good position for the next coming years.
Let's have a look at the votes from yesterday. Stephen Canelio I thought was the best man on the ground. Briggs was good. Day was the best for Hawthorn, and as Lordo said, Sam Taylor, nothing could get past him yesterday, so he rounded out the votes. Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. Brisbane flying at the moment. As we know, they came up against the West Coast Eagles at one point. It was 45-0. It looked like a big 100-point drubbing, Kane.
It was looking that way until they parked the bus, the Eagles. They put everyone behind the ball and they took 114 uncontested marks. So they tried to possess the ball and keep it out of the hands of Brisbane. But like it often is against West Coast, it was far too easy and there was a lack of pressure. They lost the tackles by 12 despite being dominated against with disposals. What I've loved recently, and they killed Richmond last week through the midfield, that was the case again. and the numbers that they've got going through there. So Ashcroft was enormous. He had 7 clearances. Neil's back to his absolute best. He had 8 clearances. And Jared Lyons comes in and plays a role for them. He had 6 clearances in the stack of the footy. Lordo's spoken about Jack Gunston, who cashed in and will be feeling pretty good about himself this morning.
Give me a positive about West Coast.
McGovern was back yesterday.
It was good to see McGovern back, but Elijah Hewitt I really like. So he started on ball, the 18-year-old, and he looks like a genuine big body midfielder.
Yep.
Who's someone they can really build around. So him and Jinby and Hewitt through the midfield. Long is a good young player for them. So the positive out of it is that they have exposed some of these young players to serious midfield minutes in positions that they probably wouldn't have got in better teams. But in the end, 14 losses for the Eagles in a row, and that one was nasty again.
Pre-game, Adam Simpson said, he goes, it's a beautiful sunny day. We're playing the Brisbane Lions, who love to attack and score better than anyone. And to me, it's sort of they played in a possession-style game where they thought we need to protect. If we try and play an aggressive style, we'll lose by 170 again. So it was flattered them, the 81 scoreline, because they just possessed and tried to protect themselves.
Andrew Gaff had 6 touches.
Yeah.
6.
What's
Andrew Gaff. I don't know.
You used to get high 30s.
Every week used to be tagged from the opposition. He's run around for a full game of footy and had the footy 6 times.
Has he got value elsewhere?
Incredible.
No.
Not now.
No?
No, not now.
North was offering $1 million times 6 about 4 or 5 years ago.
Votes
but
came.
not now.
Let's look at the votes, Brownie, because there were some good Brisbane players. Clearly thought Gunston was the best player on the ground. Neil, Ashcroft and Andrews once again. He's having a big season, Harris Andrews. He took another 8 intercept marks.
Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. Let's head back to Friday night. The Western Bulldogs took on Collingwood and they looked like they were going to cause an upset early, but with Waitman going well and then Jamie Elliott started to kick goals, Collingwood machine got going.
I think they'd beat most teams outside of the top 4 with the way they played the Dogs. I know I spoke about their laps, but Waitman's kicked 4, Norton kicked 4, Ugle-Hagan 2. Daicos, Angus is about to talk about, but I thought they were pretty good. That first half, their pressure was elite. Norton was creating that many headaches. Ugle-Hagan was creating a heap of headaches. Their defence stood up. It was an issue for them. Mason Cox and Billy Frampton were really poor. They only had a couple of touches between them, couldn't take a mark.
2 weeks in a row, their defence has stood up with no Liam Jones.
And it was pinging out of there pretty well, but they just couldn't sustain it.
Is it good enough, Lordo, that they wouldn't challenge the top 4 though, with where they are in the investment into this group? So that the concern was about their key position players, that they went and invested heavily in Lobb and Jones. I know Jones is not there, but the midfield they've got and now the forward line that they've got, is it good enough to say that, yep, they're around the mark, but they're not good enough to challenge the best?
Probably I think that'll come in the next month. They could get on a roll and potentially still push for that 4th spot, but I think it's just their back line. I think their mids and forwards look okay now. It's just their back line. It's had a lot of injuries.
Gus, most players in their second year are still figuring out how to tie their boots up, but Nick Daicos is the best player in the game, bar none at the moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really notable when he's playing on the half-back flank, actually go looking for him to use the ball. The trust they've got him to use it, make the right decisions is incredible. As you said, a second-year player, you just don't see that very often. And they've, such as the trust they've got for him, they've moved him into the midfield now a bit more. He's attended 24 centre bounces on the weekend. He's had 11 clearances to go with his goals and his disposals. So I think he's, I can't remember, you've seen a lot more footy than I have, but he seems to be the most impactful, first-year player certainly, and now he's no second-year Blues. I don't remember any player having a more...
Probably the best since Chris Judd for a second-year player.
Yeah, and Judd took 3 years to do what Daicos is now doing in his second. When it's all said and done, I mean, he had a good second year, Judd, but it wasn't what Daicos is doing this year.
They had their opportunities, as Lordo mentioned, with their forwards. They got a hold of Collingwood's defenders, who play really aggressive. That's their style, we know that. But 13 marks inside 50 between Norton, Ugle-Hagan and Cody Waitman, and it was right from the start. So they're really aggressive, aren't they, Lordo, with their positioning, and they're quick to roll up to the next dangerous, and they back themselves in. But at stages, Ugle-Hagan had the better of more, and he had goals conceded against him. Murphy's pretty strong, but Aaron Norton came back in with probably his best performance in a while, and Cody Waitman, you mentioned. So that would be the only, vulnerability with Collingwood is off the turnover and their aggressive defence.
There's the votes. Daicos was great. Quainer in the back end. Bit of conjecture who kicked the goals on Quainer. Howe took 10 marks, most of them intercepts in the back end, and Norton kicked 4. Very, very close to putting Jamari Ugle-Hagan in there. He had a fantastic game as well. But let's go all the way back to Thursday night. The Swans started like a rocket. They got out to a 26-point lead, and Richmond slowly got them through the midfield, and they were just pushing that ball forward at all costs. crossed, and Shea Bolton after half-time really showed us how good he is.
This was another game where Sydney could easily have won. So they were the better side. They were out to 20 points at early stages.
26.
26 points. And I thought even the last period, they were just repeat entry, but just couldn't score. They've got scoring issues. Buddy had some good moments, had some really poor moments in the game. But in the end, Richmond found a way to win through moments like this where they were the better side after half-time.
Yeah, some of their better players stood up, and Baker was important. We mentioned already Bolton and Martin was really influential. And Nankervis, after that incident that we showed earlier on, responded strongly.
Graham's moments like Kane, as we're seeing here.
Graham is just an outstanding finisher. Look at the score there. They lead by 1 point. The pick up, the finish.
They can't contend without Nankervis, though. If he's out for an extended period, which we think he will be, he's been brilliant since he's come back in.
Up at the tribunal, got a 3-match ban hanging over him. It could be more. When you say they found a way, Dustin Martin found a way too. Look, when they were 26 points down, he and Shea Bolton just got creative. It's just sometimes it's the little things. It's not necessarily the big things that we're seeing a bit of here, but the thinking through situations, the preparedness to take on a tackler and to squeeze out a handball and then go and get it again. And then he didn't need to do that. They were going to win the game anyway, but that just sealed it.
Yeah.
Let's discuss Sydney. Like, they've gone from a grand finalist to now a bottom 5 club in the space of less than 12 months. And how much do you put down to injuries and how much do you put down to form and not backing up after getting smashed in a grand final? I think they have to, obviously they'll move on from Buddy Franklin and they've got to put time into Amadi and McDonald and just try and settle this team down. But I
can't work out why their midfield gets beaten as regularly as what it does with the names that are in there. And Parker was really influential early. He drifted out of the game. Rowbottom's a good young player. We know about Goulden. They got Warner, who's injured, but even when he has played, they've been exposed to the midfield. So they need to go and get a ruckman, I think, because Laddams and Hickey aren't going to be the ones to stand up.
And a key back. Yeah.
So the choice not to bolster their list in the off-season was a mistake, and their depth, and they've been found out. See what Melbourne did, we've seen what Collingwood did and what Brisbane have done in the off-season. Sydney did nothing. So I expect them to be really aggressive, Brownie, in the off-season.
Is Barras the one? There's talk around potential Sydney. Yeah, Barras going to the Swans. I'm not sure where Himmelberg stands.
They've looked at Himmelberg very closely.
In the
Is it a valid excuse, though, the injuries this year, or are you saying that they should be better with what they had out there?
Yeah, no, it's a reason, and it hasn't been ideal for them, but they had that game in their control, and a lot of teams have been faced with injury. They were pretty well stocked on the night there. They weren't missing too many, so it's a reason, but not an excuse.
The votes from the game on Thursday night. Dustin Martin, sensational to see him back alongside his mate Shea Bolton. Goulden should be winning the best and fairest at the Swans, and Nank after half-time was super.
And here is the updated leaderboard with Nick Daicos now out to a clear 10-vote lead, 93 to 83. Petrarca got votes again. Dawson plays today, obviously. Clayton Oliver's still up there, but not going to be playing for a while. And Lachie Neale, they're all playing for this. This is the biggest prize in football, the new Lexus RX 350H. Thanks to Lexus of Blackburn, this is a brilliant car. A leader, not a follower. Dynamic, unique, divine convention. Just like the player that gets to drive at home. Thanks to Lexus of Blackburn, the all-new Lexus RX 350H luxury is like nothing else. Your test drive is awaiting at Lexus of Blackburn, the biggest prize in football. And Gus, it wasn't long ago, probably 6 weeks, that Clayton Oliver was on top and he was looking at driving home that $100,000 machine. How do you reckon he'd be feeling at the moment?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've seen his car, what he drives around at the moment, and it certainly doesn't look quite as good as that. So he'll be flat. He'll be flat. But next year, he'll get it next year.
Next year, you'll be back, Clayton. That is fantastic, Lexus of Blackburn.